Hey guys, welcome back to True North Podcast. My name's James McKenzie. This week we're diving back into our series where we're bringing on our board members to introduce them to you guys. We've got Jeremy Stoner, our board president. He and I have a conversation about his life, his calling, his family, and what drives him to serve at this capacity with True North Ministries. If you're watching this podcast before November 6th, you still have time to make it to our last Oklahoma base camp of 2025. So the 6th through the 9th of November, we're going to be out at Camp Wow in Stewart, Oklahoma, and I promise you do not want to miss this. One of our other board members, James Hugo, is actually leading that camp, and we have an incredible staff of men that are preparing and getting it ready for you guys. So if you haven't been, or if you haven't been in a while, or you've got friends in your life that need to come and they need you to invite them to come, just put it on your calendar. Sign up today. It's not too late to sign up. Do that, and we'll see you out there. If it's after November 6th, we do have a camp in Texas, November the 13th through the 16th. And so if you want to travel down to there and have an incredible camp led by Joe Altabomber, you can do that as well. So it's been an incredible year of base camps. We thank all of you guys for your involvement and all the invitations that you've made. It's been an incredible year with a record-breaking camp back in May with 151 guys. And so thank you. And we can't wait for 2026. Go check out all the dates on 2026. They're all available on our website. But for now, we'll go ahead and kick off this week's True North podcast with Jeremy Stoner. You were just on our Father's Day podcast not long ago, and you shared a little bit then, but let's refresh everybody's memories on that.
Yeah. So family is big for us. We have a big family.
Yeah.
So our kids range from age 7 to 21. Our 21-year-old is married, so I have a son-in-law, and now we're recent grandparents.
That's awesome.
So we have a 4-month-old grandson, which is super exciting. And I feel a little young to be saying that I'm a grandpa, but the reality is I'm not as young as I think I am. But it's very full. Our schedules are full. It's an active family, but I love it.
Yeah.
We have the 21-year-old, 18 that just graduated high school. We've got a 14-year-old and 13-year-old girls, and then our boys are 9 and 7.
Yeah.
So
did you just keep trying until you had boys?
Well, there's a long story to that if we get into that today, but God led us to having those boys.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. What are all are they into right now? What's keeping you all busy?
Yeah, so the little boys are very much into baseball and wrestling.
Okay.
Right? So if it's baseball season, we're all in on baseball.
Yeah.
If it's wrestling season, it's wrestling every night.
Yeah.
My 7-year-old tells me right now, Dad, it's time to wrestle, and you haven't pinned me yet, so let's go. And that's just his attitude every night.
Yeah.
You're going to pin me, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
So we get down on the living room floor almost every night to
awesome.
wrestle. The teenage girls, they're a lot of fun. It's new stuff for them. My 14-year-old just got a job at the church, so it's like the thrill of having new responsibilities for her.
Yeah.
Our 13-year-old is, for the first time, so we also homeschool.
Okay.
So this is the first time for her to go outside of the house for classes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been her new experience
Yeah.
and jumping into, like, I got to leave the house.
Yeah.
I've got new responsibilities, new classmates, things of that nature. So it's the beginning of the school year, so there's always new stuff there.
Yeah.
Our 18-year-old just moved back home. She had left for the summer and came back. And so now she's doing online college, mm-hmm. and she has found 3 jobs in the last 2 weeks, and she just says yes to everything. Yeah. So she's finding herself very busy and highly employable.
Yeah.
As I told her last night, she's highly employable.
That's good.
So
that's good. What do you guys, what do you do for fun individually? And then what do you guys do for fun as a family?
Yeah. So family wise, we're very family centric.
Yeah.
When we can, it's dinner around the table and it's games at the table.
Yeah.
Right. There's always a project. There's always people going different directions every night, but that is the root of our of our existence is family.
Yeah.
And very family centric. So we go to church together. We Wednesday nights together. It's Sundays we're serving together. So there's a lot of togetherness there. Individually, for me, it's as much bow hunting as anything
As
else,
possible.
as much as possible. And not to get away from the family, that's not the point. But if I get alone for a couple hours in a tree stand, put the bow in the stand and sit
Mm,
there with a journal. And if I just happen to forget my phone in the truck,
yeah.
even better, I can sit and it's, I kind of joke, it's church for me
Yeah.
to be in a bow stand and just linger with God,
That's so
give him
good.
some space. Because the reality of, not just our family, but just culture in general, man, we're busy.
Yeah.
And I don't like the word busy because it feels very reactive, but we're active.
Yes.
There's a lot going on, and I need time
Yeah.
in a deer stand.
Yeah.
The same way as I need to go to base camp, right?
Yeah.
It's like giving God space. Like, okay, what do you want to say?
Yeah.
Even if I don't have a question, even if I'm not struggling with something, giving God some space.
Yeah.
So bow hunting, going to the farm, doing that labor and being out
Yeah.
in nature is big for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And you've got about as much or as many responsibilities as anybody that I know with
Hmm.
a full-time career that
Right.
is really dynamic too. Like you've got a bunch of different boards that you're a part of just within your career and things that you do with that. And then you just became an elder,
Yeah.
right, of your
I have no
church.
idea what I'm doing
No
now.
idea, but
And why am I there?
time commitment. You're part of a couple of men's groups, right?
Yep.
And then you are president of the True North board.
Hmm.
And that's been going on for a couple of years. So, what secrets have you discovered? And I'm sure we're all just like trying to stay above water, but what secrets have you discovered that has helped you to thrive whenever your life is this busy
Hmm.
or not busy?
Yeah, we don't like
This
busy.
scheduled.
Right. But this scheduled, I don't know if there's secrets. I would say the one thing I've learned over the last, I'll say decade, 12 years or so within True North that's helped me the most is, well, it's walking with God.
Yeah.
Because those things that you rattled off, those weren't things that, I mean, I could talk about eldership. I could talk about even the job I'm in today, my role at True North. They weren't things I was pursuing.
Yeah.
This wasn't like goals for me or checklist type things. It was an invitation in and walking with God saying, because to be honest, when I was asked to be on the board, for example, I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And I was asked to, hey, will you pray about it? Would you take 3 or 4 days and just pray about this? I said, sure, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I will pray.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to pray. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And willingness to hear God say, yes,
Mhm.
I want you to do this. I'm like,
Mhm.
how? It was always asking that next
Yeah.
question, but I don't think there's secrets to it as much as it is knowing that the things that I have going on, the things that our families called into are callings.
Yeah.
We're not spending a lot of time on things that are just, I don't say superfluous necessarily,
Wow.
but
That's a
like
good word
they're
for the True
not
North
they're not
podcast.
a big word. But they're meaningful. They are things that that I'm called into.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's secrets to
Yeah.
it, but just um,
I like that.
I was joking with my wife this morning. We were talking about something with our schedule, and I said I was visiting with a friend, and they were talking about the shows they watch, and I go, I don't have shows. And I know the beginning of college football is kicking off.
Mhm.
I went to OSU. I loved, I should say, college football. I don't watch it much
Yeah.
anymore. Um, I don't know if that's a sign of maturity or just like I just don't have time for it. But where God's calling me into is where I just spend my time.
Yeah. I think we'll dive more into that and kind of what's gotten you to that point as we go through kind of your journey. But so you've been a part of the board for, has it been 7 years?
Yeah, I think we're 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
So you just kind of talked about how you got invited into it.
Hmm.
What was your preconceived notions of what it would be like to be on a True North board, and how has that been maybe different?
Gosh, I have to go back into the memory bank here, but I didn't feel when I was asked to consider it, I didn't feel like I was far enough along
Mm,
in my own journey,
mm,
not just with True North, but just with I knew the guys that were on the board, and I I'm guilty of comparison,
yeah,
right? So I spent time going, well, I'm not that.
yeah.
And I don't have that skill, or this guy does this really well, and I don't do that. So I kind of was a victim of my own, comparison to
Mm,
start with. Um, but what maybe besides the idea that God called me to do it, what I found in the board that's very unique from anything else I've ever served on is the number one requirement was you hear from God,
yeah.
right? Uh, I've been on other not-for-profit boards. I've been on other maybe professional boards, and the reason that you're asked to be on them is completely different.
Hmm.
On other not-for-profits, it's really about what about your ability to bring in other donors or be a donor yourself.
Mm,
So it's really about development. You have a big board because you need many hands and feet out there helping develop and
yeah.
and get money to be able to do the mission. That's not the board setup for True North.
Hmm.
It starts with, do you hear from God?
Yeah.
Because we lean pretty heavily on God. This doesn't make sense, but are you telling us to do this?
Yeah.
Right. And there's been those times where, wait, the gala, right? We talked about it throughout this last year.
Hmm.
Like I'm kind of thinking about David, like this idea that worked last time. Let's do it again. Let's run the same play.
Yeah.
But God's like, no.
Hmm.
And it made me nervous and I was a little uncomfortable with it and I didn't like it. All of those things were going on in my flesh, but I'm like,
Yeah.
but God's saying, we're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And so on any other board or any other leadership kind of council, if you will, we would have run the same play
Yeah.
or had
A
maybe
vote.
a different backup plan or
Yeah.
something else. But this was the men on that board are listening to God and
Yeah.
confidence in what he was telling us.
Yeah. That's good. Um, so you've been president now for about 2 years.
Yep. Is it over yet?
Is it over yet? You've got what? It'll be just one more year. We just do 3-year terms. Is that
Yep.
right?
3-year terms.
And so, what lessons have you learned as president
Hmm.
um, of True North? How has that changed your perspective of the ministry and perspective?
Well, I have a new respect for those that have served in that role
Yeah.
before, right? Because there's an added element of, I say administration necessarily, but communication.
Hmm.
And I'm not great. I wouldn't characterize myself as great in that. Um, but I know, Brad served in that role for a lot of years
Yeah.
and was very good at bringing the ideas to the table. And it wasn't on him to bring the ideas to the table, but to continue to draw out of guys what they were really hearing from God.
Hmm.
And when there was disagreements, like how do you navigate those disagreements? And one thing that I learned even from Williams Espino as he was president before me was we walk in unity. So if we're not on the same page, we're not moving forward.
Right.
And that was a big thing because in previous, like I said, in previous roles that I've been on boards or other types of things like this, it's majority. If we got a majority vote, we're moving forward, and we make another decision if we don't like that decision.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
So it's there's a little bit more. They're not really planning, but just coordinating
Yeah.
and getting the right guys to speak up
Yeah.
when I know there's something that's on their heart,
Yeah.
and you can kind of see it when you get to know them. But it's still just knowing who you have,
Hmm.
with you on this journey.
Hmm.
Knowing their hearts is always a big deal,
Yeah.
and being able to rely on them. I think if I've struggled in an area, it's been I've got to do this versus this is not up to me.
Hmm.
And so I've learned that over the last couple of years,
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah.
I'm a slow learner
Yeah.
in some areas.
That's really good. Um, what what is the story with your True North journey?
Hmm.
Uh, that led you to the place where you're at now? What
Okay.
how did why is there a fire in you to serve for True North?
So we have to go all the way back to before True North, because I think it was 2011, the very first camp
Mhm.
that wasn't a True North base camp.
Yeah.
So a couple of friends, Brad and Brian, went out of state, experienced this camp event, came back, and I'm blown away by this. But um, the two of them were able to get pretty close to 100 guys to go to that very first camp.
That's so
We went
crazy.
out to Jacob's Ladder, and I was invited to go to that camp. Didn't want to,
Yeah.
but was invited in, right? And that first weekend experience, I heard from God for the very first time. I could honestly say I heard
Mm.
God's voice.
And you were raised in church, right?
Had been around church most of my life,
Mhm.
and certainly wasn't following God as closely as I should all the way through, especially through college.
Yeah.
I wasn't walking with Him. I knew who He was, but I wasn't walking with Him.
Yeah.
Um, had kind of changed when Abby and I got married. This is early 2000s. There were areas of my life that I knew needed more of God. And so we were engaged more in church, but still, I'd never heard God's voice
Mhm.
in any prayer time that I'd had. But I remember there was one tree I'd always go sit under during the quiet times. And I still have a picture of it on my phone, but in a mental image, I could tell you exactly where that tree's at.
Mhm.
And I remember asking God why my dad fathered me the way that he did. Because growing up, my dad was a really good friend, but he wasn't a disciplinarian, and he wasn't a spiritual leader in our home. And God unpacked for me his story.
Mm.
Like, he just laid it out about my grandpa passed away when my dad was 6.
Mm.
So my grandpa was 32, my dad was 6. His father figure immediately became his older brothers who were in high school. So imagine the difference between a mature leader in the home and a 32-year-old man
Yeah.
versus 16 or 17-year-old young men
Mhm.
that were trying to lead and direct and guide. And they were much more friends than they were leaders and disciplinarians,
Yeah.
right? So that's what my dad mimicked,
Yeah.
right? For lack of better terms. That that time at that first camp changed my relationship with my dad immediately.
Mhm.
He did nothing different, but I was changed and our relationship changed in a moment. Now, I was good. I mean, I did not go, I'm all in, let's go build this True North thing. I'm in, let's go. I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need anything else,
Mhm.
because there's a layer of accountability that I didn't want
Yeah.
from other men.
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of walked away from it for a couple of years until I was invited back.
Yeah.
Um, Invited back into a men's group that was uncomfortable, but I just kept feeling like I was drawn to come back. And so I've been in that same group now for close to 12 years
That's
with a
wild.
lot of the same men, and walking with them over a 12-year period through a lot of ups and downs, like my own ups and downs and theirs. That has been one of the stickiest things for me in
Mm.
terms of staying engaged in True North,
Yeah.
is because of I guess, what has been developed in that small group.
Yeah.
Um, and many of us have been or still are
Yeah.
pretty engaged in True North.
Yeah. You know what stands out to me? Before we even dove into the story, when we were talking about the board, one of
Hmm.
the things you mentioned was that thinking about having the other guys on the board and you needing to just trust that they'll do these other things, and it's not on you.
Hmm.
And then you tell your story and you give a clear picture of the lineage of where that came from in your heart of it's up to you to figure it out because your dad was raised that
Sure.
way, then he raised you that way.
Right.
And so like to me that just highlights that's what God is doing in and through True North is that's how many generations deep is that
Sure.
still something that you're fighting and succeeding at, but it's still there. And things like that the teaching and the experience of True North going through is healing
Right.
and
Mm.
breaking those thought patterns and the isolation that so many men have today. That's just a good
Right.
like such a clear, authentic, genuine promo of like, that's what True North does.
Right. I think this is something I've been chewing on for the last, I don't know, handful of months. But God's in the business of growing us up,
Mm-hmm.
right? This idea that, and you can read it throughout Scripture, that we're not just called to salvation, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are called to a sanctified life, which is set apart. We're called to good works, yes, but why? Um, I believe it's because God's trying to mature us,
Yeah.
right? But it's for a purpose. It's not for this life.
Yeah.
It's for the things of eternity.
Mm-hmm.
It's for the kingdoms and the things that we will reign later, that we need to be matured today.
Yeah.
So I love seeing that, and I see it. We both see it quite
Mm-hmm.
often with other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see that it clicks.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is not about me.
Yeah.
This is about something a little bit bigger.
Right.
And when they get that, when we all kind of get that, and maybe slowly over time we all figure that out,
Mm-hmm.
it sets our eyes on something a little bit further down the road than
Yeah.
just, what are we doing this weekend?
Yeah.
Right? What about this weekend's football game? Or what about, like, I've got big plans this weekend over Labor Day to go do some stuff, but it's not about that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, what are you doing? And taking that pause to say, God, what are you up to? What are you stirring up here, and what
Yeah.
are you after?
Yeah.
And are we willing to ask those questions and hear, what are you really after?
Yep.
And walk with that.
Yeah. So what have you are there any moments or stories within your True North experience that that since that first camp that really just get you fired up for the mission of True North?
Personal stories.
Yeah.
Um, well, it'd be hard for me not to talk about the story of how we have such a large family,
Yeah.
right? Because if I go back to the idea, invited into a small group, and I remember vividly one day that we were talking about hearing from God, and I was a bit confused in the moment, right? Because somebody was talking about this idea that God told them to pull over and help this guy, and I'm like, I don't know the difference between me feeling guilty to just pull over and help him out, or God telling me to.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody in the room kind of gave their own version of what it is like for them to hear from God versus hearing from yourself. But somebody else decided, you know what? You need to read this book. Brad Montgomery.
Yeah.
He decided to go on Amazon, buy Walking with God, and leaned over and asked me for my address. He sent it to me. He goes, here's the deal. You're going to read this book. Then we're going to go have a beer. We're going to talk about it. And then we're going to read it again.
Yeah.
Like that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, this book changed my life. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That stirred up something in me where it was normal to have a conversation with God, to learn his voice in little things.
Mm-hmm.
So take that and fast forward a couple years later, things had gotten pretty busy. And I start having a dream that we were at the hospital, specifically Mercy Hospital in Oklahoma City. We were getting off the elevator. The nurse was pushing Abby in the wheelchair. She had a baby basically sitting in her lap, and I'm carrying the balloons out to the car. This car, interestingly, is my mom's 1976 brown Monte Carlos, big old long boat of a car,
Yeah.
very wide. And in the back seat, I go to put the baby in kind of the car seat and put him in, and he's got a blue bonnet on. Like, so you got a blue little bonnet on his head, and I look across this big long back seat, and on the other side of the back seat is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed toddler just laughing. And I wake up. Well, this happened to me. This exact dream happened to be 5 nights in a row.
Oh my.
And I remember on a Saturday morning telling my wife, I was like, okay, this is weird, but I've got to tell you a story. And so I tell her this, and she's brushing her teeth, and I was like, okay. She says, so when did that start? I said, Monday. Monday night through Friday night. It's 5 nights in a row. It's the exact same dream. And she looks at me, she goes, huh, me too. Walks out. walks out, and I'm left there going, well, so what came out of my mouth was, well, I guess I need to pray about this. What was going on in my heart was completely different. I did not want to do this. We had 4 girls,
Yeah.
and I was not
That's a
interested.
full load,
We're
man.
we have plenty. I mean, we're homeschooling at this time. Some of our family thinks we're weird because we've already got, we've got 4 kids. We're homeschooling. We're kind of weird, but it's what God was calling us into. Um, this set off a season of me. I argued with God for 6 months. And I mean, literally, I would be in my truck going down the road, and I'd be yelling and screaming, and I would hear but practicing hearing from God and recognizing his voice was very critical earlier, because now I recognized the calm, soothing voice where, like, I would just say, I don't want this. And he goes, yeah, I know, but you obey. And that wasn't a statement of what I'm going to do. It's a statement of identity
Mm-hmm.
when he said that. And I would get furious. Um, and, and and I never got a furious tone back from God. It was so interesting, right?
Yeah.
But over the season of about 6 months, I mean, there are so many wild stories embedded in that, but arguing with God for that period of time was the closest, up to that point, was the closest and most intimate time I'd ever had with God.
Yeah.
And we weren't on the same page,
Yeah.
but he just kept pursuing. He just kept pursuing. He just kept encouraging. And finally, I remember in January, because this had happened in July to January. In January, I remember saying, fine, you win. And that was my prayer. Like, it doesn't sound like much of a prayer, but that's exactly what I prayed. It's a fine, you win.
Yeah.
We were pregnant by the end of the month.
Yeah.
And 3 months later, we had a miscarriage. That miscarriage rocked us
Yeah.
because we felt like we were walking into what God had called us to,
Yeah.
right? And like the idea, at least in my mind at that point, the idea that if you're walking in what God has called you to do,
Should just
he's going to
happen.
take care of it,
Yeah.
right? There's not going to be pain. There's not going to be like, this is going to work out because God has called us to go do this.
Yeah.
Um, we had that miscarriage, and I remember on the back porch, Abby and I were talking about it, we were crying about it, we are praying about it, and I remember vividly hearing, this is not an Abraham and Isaac test. I want you to do this, but I want you to invite other people in. Tell the story and invite people in. Because up to that point, when we kind of felt weird. I mentioned that before, we're homeschooling, we've got 4 kids. Like the idea that you're going to go have more kids because God said so in a dream, to many of our family and some of our friends, that was weird.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say necessarily embarrassing, but I didn't know how to handle all the questions. And so I just like, it's easier just not to talk about it. And God was like, nope, we're going to invite some people in. We're going to talk about it. And you need people praying for you.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the idea of, again, depending on other people, even for prayer. I thought they don't have time for that. They
Yeah.
don't, that's not important to them. It's important to me, but it's not important to them. And that kind of puts them out. And I don't like somebody, um, I don't like putting anybody out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something I don't enjoy. Um, but we did. So we started sharing the story, and telling our family about it, telling people what was going on. My dad was super excited. So this was, he at that time he had 6 granddaughters, no grandsons. And we grew up hunting and fishing. So he was like, okay, he's getting his little hunting buddy, his little fishing buddy. Everybody in my little small town that I grew up in knew that Gary was having a son, and we'd already told him that we're naming him Garrett. So Garrett was named after my dad.
Okay.
And my grandpa. So it's Garrett Victor. But everybody in town knew this. Fast forward, we're 8 to 9 months into this pregnancy. My dad passes away very unexpectedly and just crushing. We had 4 or 5 years of like, our relationship was fantastic. It wasn't always, but it was fantastic in that period. And trying to kind of walk with God in that, it was necessary that I had learned the voice of God, his consolation, his love earlier, to be able to hear him in that.
Yeah.
So That was a the hardest season I'd ever been through. Um, Garrett was born, a few weeks later, perfectly fine, like no issues. It was
Yeah.
beautiful, like it was awesome, but like dad wasn't there, right? Back to the men's group, they wouldn't let me not talk about it,
Mm.
right? They forced me to process
And grieve.
and grieving, right? As we've learned, the simplest explanation of grief that I've kind of held on to is getting what's on the inside out.
Yeah.
And they did that really, really well. But they knew me, right? We
Mm-hmm.
had been together for a season,
Yeah.
and I needed them, but I didn't know how much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Several of them showed up for the funeral, drove 2.5 hours to get up to the funeral, which was kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
But that was the easy thing.
Yeah.
The hard thing was every week showing back up at group, knowing that they're going to continue to ask me hard questions
Yeah.
and wait on me through the tears to answer
Uh-huh.
and to talk through it. So I don't know exactly what your question was to begin with, but that story of kind of blending together, like being able to hear the voice of God, certainly put us on a path
Mm-hmm.
to grow in our family. And we had no doubt that that's what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Um, Being able to rely on our small group, my men's group,
Yeah.
in the hardest season I'd ever been through
Yeah.
was maybe the second biggest thing
Mm-hmm.
that I've ever gotten out of True North. It's
Yeah.
the relationships and the intimacy with men,
Yeah.
because you may not need them right now. You're going to need them. You're going to go through something where you
Yeah.
need good, strong men around you.
Yeah.
Um, and you need to be able to have God, but you also need to have men close by that's ready to fight
Yeah.
with you, or maybe just kick your tail,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I've been on both sides of that coin, but
Yeah.
going in that season of going back to group every week was like, I dreaded it because I didn't want to do it. But God was sitting there encouraging me, like, nope, we can do this. Like, and it was always this we.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. We can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd go back and I'd get my 2-hour counseling session from a
Yeah.
bunch of guys who are kicking my tail and helping me figure out what it was like to grieve. I'd never been through anything like that. And you can tell somebody, just get what's on the inside out, right? It'll be so much better. But you got to walk it. You just have to
Mm-hmm.
walk that out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hard.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. That's a really beautiful story.
Yeah. Here's the rest of that. We have 2 boys,
Okay.
not just one.
Yeah.
Right. And so about a year and a half later, this had never happened to us. Every time that we have had children, it was something that we were planning,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're planners. There's rules. We follow the rules. We plan things. So Luke, our youngest, he was not planned. And so when Abby came to me and said, "Hey, we need to talk," well, first of all, I don't like you saying that. Like, what does that mean? That brings up so many negative connotations.
Yeah.
Like, what's about to happen? And she said, I'm pregnant." Well, my reaction wasn't godly, but it was, I think, within a few days, I'm like, you know what? I think God just didn't want to argue with me again. I joke, right? It's like he's just going to do what he needs to do here.
Like a good dad.
But that was actually the fulfillment of the dreams that we were
Yeah.
having, right? It really wasn't about one boy; it was about 2. And there, in that time, I don't know, I would have been so reluctant to have another one. I think the idea that, like, nope, she's pregnant, like, oh, son of a gun. Every time we had an extra kid, though, it was like, as a new vehicle, we'd add on to our house. Like, I'm a finance guy. Like, everything, the numbers just kept adding up. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Why would I do this?
Yeah.
I try to take logic and tell God what to do with that. And like, no,
Yeah.
I've got another plan.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm just seeing a theme of you're the third person on the True North podcast who have brought up reading Walking with God being such a transformational thing.
Right.
Jess, my wife, she was on the podcast and shared how she had to pull over on the side of the road because God just hit her so hard with that book.
Sure.
Same thing with Ryan.
Hmm.
Ryan shared about that, and now you're sharing that. And so, man, read this book. Read this book.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal book. It is what the Ascent is based on.
Hmm.
And I know you've been a part of the Ascent team for a long time.
Right.
And you've led camps. You've been a part of the
Hmm.
prayer team for the Ascent. What I mean, is there anything outside of what you've already shared that like fires you up about the Ascent?
It's the practicing of it, right?
Yeah.
You get to, not to give away all the secrets, right? But when you get time with other men to hear their story, and then are able to just simply sit back and listen to God, and then watch what he's up to when one person hears one thing and somebody else hears something else, and
Yeah.
it blends together
Yeah.
beautifully, right?
Yeah.
Like God speaks to us differently, and how he does that and how he blends it together, it's just, it's, I'm in awe,
Hmm.
right? Because there's a lot of times I'll hear a lot of things for somebody when if I'm leading that small group, and we'll pray. And I had this happen to me on the other side too. Trey Dixon was a small group leader for me the very first time I went to the Ascent,
Hmm.
and he heard something very specific for somebody, and he told me later. He didn't tell me at the moment. He said, "God, give that to somebody else." And he said, within 3 seconds, you said the exact same thing that I had just heard.
Mm.
And I've done that same thing
Yeah.
in those small groups as well. I don't know. There's just a ton of stories that you could
Yeah.
tell out of that. But it is a rich time of practicing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if you want to call it a skill, but it's a new practice for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And to hone that skill with other men around you,
Yep.
it's a beautiful time.
Yeah.
Go to the Ascent. Go to the
Yes.
Ascent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's transition and talk about some maybe a little bit of vision and dreaming for True North.
Okay.
I asked Mike this yesterday. What what would be a dream scenario for you for True North in the next 5 to 10 years?
Mm. So my first thought on the 5 to 10 year piece of this is I don't I don't like thinking about that.
Hmm.
It feels very dangerous, and I think about the idea of what did we say? I've been on the board 6 years.
Is it because accountability
No,
comes back in?
no, no. Well, maybe I need to unpack that one a little bit myself. But 6 years ago, the things that we were talking about on the board, we're not doing. I mean, we're in a completely different spot,
Hmm.
right? So I hesitate to spend a lot of time and energy thinking about 5 or 10 years down the road.
Hmm.
Um, However, I'm a finance guy, and it would be when you say that and you think about, okay, what's my dream? Man, my dream probably is in this vein of there's a lot of men that have experienced base camp.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that scripture tells us where your treasure is, there your heart is also. To have men bought in at $5 or $10 a month, but to have a lot of those guys doing it
Hmm.
supports the ministry in a way that we could go do the things that God's calling us without restriction,
Yeah.
right? And so money's always a restriction, right? But it's a necessity for the
Hmm.
things that we want to go do, the things that we sit around and dream about. Um, but to remove those limitations, to be able to say, "Hey, this is what God's calling us to do.
Hmm.
We've got it. Let's go do it."
Yeah.
And I'm not. I know a lot of organizations that rely on some, big donors to help them get there, or grants,
Yeah.
or other corporate sponsorships and things like that.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's
Yeah.
us, right? I think what's us at the heart of our ministry is there's a lot of men that have been impacted by the ministry that $5 or $10 a month to give up just a little bit, but from a lot of guys,
Yeah.
I think removes the restriction
Hmm.
for some of those dreams to kind of take place. So I don't know if the dream is to not have that restriction,
Yeah.
and to be able to say, you know what? Okay, God, let's go.
Yeah.
We've the resources are there. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the let's go where means
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
because it does seem like, when we get together as a board and do a retreat, it's really like, okay, God, where are you at right now? What are you up to right now?
Hmm.
What do you need us focused on right now? And we do a really good job of staying in right where we're at.
Yeah.
Not to stay there, but to
Yeah.
focus on
Yeah.
and not be dreaming too far out there.
Hmm.
And I like it when John talks about this sometimes at camp. He goes, why doesn't God give us our goals for 50 years down
Yeah.
the road? Because we're probably going to go do it,
Yeah.
and then we leave God behind.
Yeah.
But the other side of that coin is when he gives us that, it's going to feel pretty big. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we have the capacity to handle
Yeah.
it. So we need it in little steps.
Yep. Well,
Um,
you and I have been working closely together for a couple of years now. Me
mhm.
stepping into this role as director, and I remember one of the first things I told you is that something that Jess has had to learn about me is I'm a big dreamer, and just because I'm telling you that I'm dreaming about something doesn't mean we have to go out.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm putting things in
Yeah.
place to make it go and happen. But because I'm opposite, I'm always thinking like 5, 10 years.
Sure.
What's that look like? I like putting my energy into that stuff. And for me, I think the way God created me is it drives out those little next steps
Mm.
that like that's what helps me cultivate like, okay, well, what is the first thing we need to do to step in that direction?
Right.
And I'm always flexible for it to change direction because
Mhm.
I'm walking with God.
Right.
And we've had to do that a lot. I
Yep.
mean, I've talked about the kind of the restructuring of our vision a little bit with we used to want to grow to 50 states, and
Right.
be in every and base
Yeah.
camp be this huge thing. And trust me, I was all for that. I was born out of, mega church culture
Yep.
and numbers, like let's grow, like let's do
Yeah.
this big thing. That's what I wanted. And stepping into this role, it was a little bit before I'd stepped into the role fully, but in that season, God was really just revealing, hey, like this isn't what exactly I have for you guys. Like
Mhm.
I want to see you guys taking care of the men that are already coming
Right.
in and just reshaping our focus and vision on the individuals
Sure.
instead of the masses. And that was new for me. Even though 5 years ago I was dreaming about the big things. Now, 5 years from now, for me, I'm dreaming about the way that we're discipling people.
Right.
And who knows if God will shift that again. But I think that's what I love about the fact that our first core of our board is that we're going to walk and listen with God
Mhm.
and hear his voice, because I think he likes to take on us on these little windy adventures
Right.
to do these different projects. I think each little aspect of it is cultivating our souls and our
Mhm.
vision and the way that we lead.
Right.
And so that's been fun, and had to kind of tamper you or help you know that you don't have to worry too much. I'm not going to go out and be crazy, but it's been fun, honestly, Jeremy, working with you in this role. You've been such an incredible support and such an incredible leader. Like I said, with all the things you're doing, your ability to stay as engaged with True North as you have is pretty exceptional. And I'd love to hear. So you're committed to it, you're called to it. Um, what are some things that, if you're speaking to a man that either men that need to come or men that have been involved, like what are you hoping to see in their lives
Hmm. Post base camp.
post base
Yeah.
camp?
So the things that come up, obviously, for base camp, just to talk to somebody about the idea of, if you're contemplating base camp, why go? My first response is give God the space,
Yeah.
right? And if you've been, come back, because he's going to have something different, right? If you give God space, he's going to speak. And so as we carve out those times, we are certainly making ourselves available to him and what he's after and what he's stirring up. But on the backside of it, I get excited about seeing guys get connected, number one, like in small group,
Mhm.
because it's just a part of my story. I think it's critical. If they come back and do that, I think what we start to see is somebody that they understand the larger story. They
Yeah.
understand first, okay, it's not about me. this is a love story set in a world at war, and there's a bigger thing going on here than just me, but what am I supposed to do with it? And so that's when I think we start seeing the fruit of marriages. We start seeing leading at home,
Hmm.
which is really powerful,
Yeah.
right? You start seeing somebody stepping up, and even if it's simply, I get home from base camp and it's the hardest thing I've ever done to take my wife's hand and we prayed together,
Yeah.
right? That's hard
Yeah.
and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or praying with your kids, or just taking on different things and focus inward on taking that leadership mantle seriously,
Yeah.
right? Um, I love seeing, and I've seen this just recently through our church in Guthrie. We've probably had close to 50 guys out of our church. And that's a church that runs, I don't know, 600, 650 on a weekend.
Hmm.
A pretty significant number of the men have now been to camp over the last, I don't know, 3 years or so,
Yeah.
right?
How have you seen that change the culture? I'm
And
sure
you
you.
see it
Yeah.
like here's what gets exciting is you see men that come back. Number one, they're on fire when they come back, um, and they're looking for what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
I've got this renewed energy.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? And what I've seen is men that have stepped up and to go, you know what, God's calling me to go be in the children's ministry. Like fantastic, go lead there.
Hmm.
To start a small group, to get in a small group. We've seen a lot of men's group get started out of those guys as they come back because they they got to go experience it together. They come back and they want to stay together.
Hmm.
So that kicks things off. But seeing men that are willing to teach and to kind of lean into their gifting, we don't all have the same gifting, but to lean into God, what do you want me to do
Yeah.
in my local church,
Yeah.
and take action, right? Go do something.
Yeah.
As So I think it's that idea of, and I'm not going to say most men are idle before they go to camp, and when they come back, now they're now
Although,
taking action.
although that is pretty common.
It's not uncommon
Yeah.
that we see shifts in um, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
What is the bigger picture,
Yeah.
and what am I supposed to do with it? And I think the three areas are obviously with their marriage, with their kids, and in their local church.
Yep.
I love seeing True North be a partner to the local church,
Mm.
to see men step into the roles in leadership
Hmm.
in the local church in the same way they're designed to be leaders in their
Yeah.
family, right? You see the parallels throughout
Yeah.
scripture of men's roles
Yeah.
in church and at home.
Yeah.
And and you see Paul talk about church as family in a lot of different sense.
Yeah.
I think it's in maybe in First Timothy, he lays out the role of the church and kind of identifies several things that are
Yeah.
family. So those two things parallel
Yeah.
for men to step into leadership
Yeah.
roles in both ways.
How would you describe, if you're talking to a pastor or ministry leader, how would you describe what the heart of True North is for them and their church?
Yeah, I think it is something that we have to be careful with our words and the language that we use to talk about True North, because over the years, True North has done a fantastic job branding themselves as a men's ministry,
Hmm.
right? So we've got, and I see it around our church quite a bit, right? Guys show up to church on a Sunday with a True North t-shirt on. I love that. Let's make sure that we're not taking the place of the men's ministry within that church,
Yeah.
that we are partnering with them. And I think getting that message across can be difficult
Hmm.
because I don't want to step on their toes. This is not our role to come in and be the church.
Yeah.
We're not a church. We're not the church. We are here to, my personal opinion, we are here to support the men and call them up into the roles in their families, their marriages, and in their church.
Yeah.
Um, at community church specifically, it was a period where the elders and the pastor was on board with helping support men going to camp
Hmm.
financially if they couldn't afford it. If there was a financial issue of any kind, the church wanted to pay for it. They
Yeah.
wanted to send them. And then when they come back, we want to see them grow
Yeah.
in the local church.
Yeah.
And so it's worked out really well.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is for people to understand that we are not the men's ministry for any church.
Right.
Like there's no church that True North is the men's ministry for
Mm-hmm.
them. We are just a resource or a tool
Right.
for these churches' men's ministries. I mean, we saw 51 different churches represented at the last base camp. All denominations, and that's the beauty of True North to me too, is like that stuff just doesn't get talked about at camp.
Right.
When we're there, and even in our frontier nights and just True North culture, there are men bonding cross denominationally.
Yeah, absolutely.
that you just don't see happening elsewhere. And they're not being, it's not like, oh, we're going to lose them to this or lose them to that. Like, no, there's just a strengthening
Right.
that's happening within the body of Christ through True North. And it really is across all denominations
Right.
you can think of. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And so, yeah, please, I would say, you can trust us. We know
Mhm.
how hard it is for a pastor to trust an
Yeah.
outside ministry, because we would be the same way if another ministry approached us about, being a service to us. We'd
Sure.
want to verify that it's authentic and real and a good resource, and we do have those. But yeah, if you're a guy listening to this and you're like, man, I really want True North to be in my church, like I want more guys in my church going to that, just open the conversation.
Yeah.
Because there's a beautiful partnership that can happen there that we've seen at a lot of life churches and at your church in Guthrie with Community Church.
Mhm.
And it's a beautiful thing that can happen whenever
Right.
men, and I always say, like, one of my pastors has never even been to base camp, and he's one of the biggest proponents for it because he can go and look all around his campus.
Yep. Sees the
and,
fruit.
oh yeah, the
Yeah.
people leading life kids, yeah, like they started after they went to base camp. And
Yeah.
yeah, all of our ushers, yeah, they started serving after they went to base
Mhm.
camp. And yeah, it's just apparent. And
Yep.
so that's great. All right, so last question. If you could encourage the men listening to this podcast to take one next step, what would that be within True North?
There's a lot of options,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it boils down to, you have to take a step. You have to take action. God's calling us into action. For the guys that have been to base camp, don't be afraid to go back.
Yeah.
Right. I have on numerous occasions, I don't know, I've probably been to 18 camps, 20 camps. I have no idea. What I've gotten out of each camp is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
There are times that I need God to speak on something and I have not been able to find a quiet space. I go to camp and it's like my ears are open.
Yeah.
Right. For those guys that have gone to camp, there's places to serve. I say take action. There's places to serve within True North, but take action in your local church, right? We've been kind of talking about that idea as well. Take action, and I'll go back to, again, sorry, I apologize. It's the finance guy in me. Like, take action in giving.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times we don't talk about it, how important it is for the ministry to just have funds to be able to function on, right?
Mm-hmm.
What it takes to go to camp, what it takes to have podcasts, what it takes to have all the things that we are doing do cost money.
Yeah.
However, if that were the only benefit, wonderful, but it's not.
Yeah.
When somebody begins to give, your heart will shift.
Yeah.
For me and our family, we have been on a journey of giving that I grew up in a household we didn't have a lot, so I was always protective of and probably a little bit tight,
Yeah.
money wise, and didn't enjoy giving. And God began shifting my heart incrementally about giving. It's a gift. It's a gifting to be generous. All of us have it, but I think continue to hone that a little bit. And I would just encourage guys, that $5 and $10 gift, it will begin to shift something in you for the ministry,
Yeah.
for other men.
Yeah.
Where your treasure is, there your heart is also.
Mhm.
If you want a reason to open the emails to see what James is talking about on a monthly basis, or the prayer team email, or anything else that comes out, to be engaged, if you're giving even $5 a month, I bet you pay attention to what's going on there.
Yeah.
Right? I can give you numerous examples of a
Yeah.
$5 gift, and I will pay attention to that email. If I'm not giving, I'm not paying attention to that email. It just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. My heart's not in it.
Yeah.
But the simplest act will engage you in the ministry,
Yeah.
and you will see the opportunities. You will see opportunities to serve at camp. You'll see opportunities to where there's opportunities at the frontier. There are places that we need guys to step up and step into. And in my mind, and just from my own experience, that small monthly donation was the first place to kind of triggered me to engage my heart.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and what you're investing in, I don't know that there's a better ROI. There maybe that's maybe a bold statement, but you get a fantastic ROI on life change and generational transformation and legacy and societal impact.
Mm-hmm.
Even and we've heard comments of like, oh, it's just guys going to camp, going to have some fun, shoot some guns. And it's like, no, I think if you've watched the podcast this far into it, you're not in that train of thought.
Right.
But man, like the investment into True North, the life change, what happens when one man gets his heart back, the ripple effect of that, and the lives that man can touch, like it's wild. Right. It is so wild.
Well, it's generational. Yeah. Right. And the men that have been around it for a while, some of the language that I hear, some of them that I've been in groups with for a while, right? Same men, we have conversations a lot more about legacy and how to pass this on. Yeah. Right. So it is one man, right? But the impact spreads very wide. And your heart will start shifting to, that, okay, God, what are you up to? But what does legacy look like in my family? Yeah. Right. You start having those conversations, and that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jeremy, thank you for being on the podcast, and thank you for your heart to serve True North. I don't know that there's been too many people that have sacrificed what you've sacrificed to step into the role that you're in. And it's been fun to partner with you in that. And sorry, but it's going to be a little while longer that you're going to have to continue to partner with me. And so we'll have fun doing it.
There's so many jokes that I want to say, but it has been a blessing to work with you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.